Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I am Judge Sonia Brown, the presiding judge for this criminal jury trial for the state of Georgia versus Matthew Scott Lanz, case number 22-900-922. Again, present in the open courtroom of the court, the clerk, the court reporter, Mr. Lanz is represented by Attorney Jimmy Berry, and the state is represented by Assistant District Attorneys Green and Horowitz. Anything we need to put on the record before we proceed?
Just one thing, Judge. After this witness, they wanted to put up a witness. He took swabs. I think it was you that took swabs. When the state finishes, there's about a 5-minute video that I have not seen.
Okay.
If we could take 5 minutes and review that to see if we can consent to it.
Sure, of course,
Thank
of course. Anything else?
No, Judge.
All right, you may proceed, Attorney Horowitz.
And Judge, right before the break, I had admitted State's Exhibit 466, which is an interview with Scott and Teresa Lanz. So I would ask the public at the time.
You may.
And I'm ready.
Do you all need the lights turned
No.
off? Okay.
And before, Detective, you're still under oath, before I press play on this, for the record, can you just indicate what the date is of this interview and time?
It's November the 19th, 2021 at 9:12 p.m.
And for the record, who is in this video before it starts playing?
That's Matthew Lanz's parents, Scott and Teresa Lanz.
Who's on the right, who's on the left?
Teresa's on the left and Scott is on the right.
Now, for the record, I'm going to start State Exhibit 466 at 9:12 and 50 seconds p.m.
And the second standard. Your father, Scott. Yes. And the second standard. You're Teresa. Yeah. All right. You got anything? So, I'm ready to go in here, especially this hour of the night. Obviously, Detective Jackson is really busy. We're investigating that murder that happened in your neighborhood, behind your house. Has everybody told you that they know what was going on with your son, Matthew? Does anybody know what was going on with Matthew? Sorry. Well, I'm going to leave. Okay. Sometime this morning, around 8:45 a.m. Yes. Matthew was found in two people's houses down in Sandy Springs. When the officer showed up, he was in someone's house. He pulled out a knife and he stabbed Sandy Springs officer multiple times. Sandy Springs officer, Sandy Springs officer is expected to survive. Matthew was shot at least twice, but he was fine. He was treated at a hospital. He's expected to make a full recovery. So I just want to let you know that. Okay. You want me to give you a minute? We can step out. We can do it.
What is he doing?
That's you know. Like I said, that was something happened in Sandy Springs. Detective Jackson and I found out about it really early this morning. We've been down in Sandy Springs for the whole part of the day, trying to figure out everything that started down there. Obviously, Sandy Springs, and you guys are doing a separate investigation as far as that goes. But obviously, like where this double homicide happened, and not getting into someone's home with a weapon and hurting a police officer, it obviously raised our suspicion and makes us want
You're sure it's Matthew?
yeah, there it is.
He had ID on him, his name?
Yeah, exactly. When we were to the body cams and all that stuff, he was in someone's house, one house down there in Sandy Springs. And we showed up to kind of talk to him, and he pulled out a knife and he stabbed off the back of that. Easy kind of guns. Well, we just saw him around the house. We went down there to meet with the Sandy Springs detectives to try to figure out officers said,
He got shot. Matthew got shot.
yeah, a police officer on scene who was there, did fire stuff and Matthew was shot. Like I said, we weren't there. I can't tell you every little bit of detail because we were very proud of having the same strength. We did go after the traffic arrow. Okay, what happened this morning, that information we have from that. I'm sure they still have a lot of work to do as far as the investigation goes. But we were down there at this house where this happened this morning.
Do you
You
have
had a suspicion about Matthew prior to that.
So the house where that fellow was at, we understand there was a connection there with your other son.
Yes.
Okay. We heard about that incident. Okay. We heard that there was a brother. We didn't really know who Matthew was at that time. We were investigating this double homicide. But we knew there was another son here. And then this morning we got a call that when the same street found out who Matthew was and where he lived in relation to where the double homicide happened, they called us and said, hey, you might want to know about this because how close it was now to someone else's home and how you harm with a weapon and staff leaving us there. So obviously when we're investigating homicide, that is something we have to follow up and we have to look into that aspect, okay? So that's how Detective Jackson and I ended up having
How could he be mentally disturbed? He's been seeing a psychiatrist since the thing that happened with Austin because we were concerned it was so close. And we went together at first.
And honestly, we've never met, I've never met Matthew, I've never had any communication with Matthew prior. I think it's nothing about who Matthew was, what his life is, what I guess is still ahead. I never even knew anything about whatever happened at that house with your other son previously until yesterday. Literally, this is the first time this has come to light to me. So that is why, obviously, we're here. Another thing that concerned us was that about the firearm that we had. And I guess from what we're being told, we may have taken from him for whatever we're told for verdicts. And we appreciate that.
We told him that, you know, after what happened to Austin, he could not have any guns.
Let me back up once down. When they were younger, we bought, I never remember if I bought or who bought them, but we had one left. And we used to arrange and shoot. It was a long gun, I don't remember what it is. And then they purchased 2 handguns, separate, like 4 together or something. I never really got a true story out of that. And after all said and done, we found them.
We didn't even know they were in the house.
We never had any idea.
And that's, I mean, appreciate this a little bit. When I said, like, we never met before. I never heard anything about Matthew, I never heard anything about your son. We're not here to judge Matthew. Good or something, you guys. We just trying to get answers.
We just want to get to some background.
That's
That's what the folks are now locked up in a safe. We bought a safe after we took them away. Put them in a safe, hid them in the closet. Matthew always asked about his guns. Don't worry about his guns, you know, get in the back. Maybe one day I'll go with you, but not right now, because I'm just not a gun person at all. I saw him every week. He'd come home when I go to Athens, and we'd play golf and dinner. I knew it was going to be tough with his brother's loss. We knew he had something going on in his head that we couldn't figure out. We couldn't figure out Austin either. We thought we were doing the right thing. I don't know if we will. But Matthew wasn't right. We were going to pull him out, we were going to bring him back home, let him go to a full be around me more, and he didn't want to do that. He said, I'm fine. So he's got some issues. After all we had malarkey, he went out and bought a gun. He told us October.
Yeah, well, we didn't know this until yesterday.
Well, we went to see him. There was a gun in the car. We told him, that was this. Where did you get this? I bought it at Athens gun store.
Gun range.
Whatever, I don't freaking remember. And I said, well, you can't have this. He said, Dad, it's personal property, it's mine, he's defiant, he doesn't like law, he doesn't like rules.
He needs to protect himself. For some reason,
There's a fear that somebody's out to get him.
with this. He says, that's what he says every time we say, why do you think you need something to protect yourself? Because everybody should have something to protect themselves.
We have guns up, private hands, and we never had
We're not going we can't offer things.
I took a gun back to our house, and I just showed that old folks when they were less than war, and how that was.
And, you know,
There's a connection. My guess is, I don't know.
But, I mean, the reason we went to Athens yesterday, I went first, because after we found out about the neighbors, I started trying to call him, you know, to tell him before he saw it or heard it, and he wasn't answering his phone. And I continued to text him and call him.
is this right now, going straight to voicemail, or?
And I think that it was showing blue yesterday. Today it's been showing green. I think I texted him twice and called him maybe a couple of times. And it was just green, so I assumed it was either dead or off. But yesterday it was blue. And so I probably got there about 2:30 or so, and I unlocked the door, and the chain was on. And I was, you know, yelling through the door, so I could see his bedroom door was closed. And I kept saying, Matthew, you know, come to the door. And I waited and waited. And so I kept trying to push the chain just to break it. And about the time that I finally got it to unscrew out of the wall, he walked out of his bedroom. And the gun was right by the bed. And I said, what is this? He said, well, I thought you were, somebody was breaking into the apartment. And I said, well, why would you think that? I was screaming, Matthew's mom. And, you know, this is 2:30 in the afternoon, and he's in a dance sleep in his bed when he's supposed to be in class.
You all have a gun.
I haven't been here.
If you're right, that's a gun. I'm sure they're now having a license to fall exactly where I put it. Like I said, I'm really happy. I don't have any secrets.
But that is why we were there yesterday, because I was concerned that I couldn't get in touch with him, and I wanted to tell him about what happened.
Do you have any suspicions?
I had no, there was no working Wednesday night or whenever that occurred. Was it Wednesday night? Yes. Wednesday night, my dogs bark at everything. I mean, they bark when I go outside, I can't find anything. We didn't hear a sound. And so I have no idea what happened. If he was there, he was not in the house.
Not in our house.
Not in our house.
No. Not just mine, but that's information. When you heard about what happened at your neighbor's house, is there any suspicion that Matthew may have been involved?
I would never. I mean, we've never even met the new people. Never even met them. And Matthew knew that the other people moved out long ago. It never occurred to me that he had anything to do with this.
There's some
do something, blah, blah, blah. He called me Tuesday night. I spoke to him Tuesday night. How you doing, buddy? Everything okay? School? What are you doing? He said, I was at the gas station filling up my car. Filling up his car. And he was going to come home with his computer. And I said, great, you pick me up at the airport tomorrow, which was Wednesday night. Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday, I talked to him. Pick me up at the airport at 6 o'clock. Yes. He said the meeting was going home. She knew nothing about being home. He never came in the house. If he came home, he didn't unlock the doors. We don't even know how he ever came home.
He told us that he went home, but never went inside the house.
That's exactly what he told us, and that's what they said. The next day, when this occurred, I said, Teresa, I'm just nervous. Matthew told me he was coming home. Maybe he didn't come home, but we ought to call and see what's up with him.
You saw him. Did you go to Athens too? To the department?
Yeah.
You went
From the
You
airport.
heard somebody that always picked me up.
Because I tried to get him to come back home with me, and he said, no, I don't need to come home.
This place in Athens.
Yeah.
You had it for a while.
Yeah, yes, he was in August.
Like I said, you've been over there multiple times,
Yes,
right?
yes.
How does he react now? Is it neat normally, or is it safe chaos?
No, it's always very neat and clean and orderly.
When you saw him, I guess it was Thursday, or when you saw him Thursday, what was his appearance? Was he drunk? Was he?
He was not drunk.
Out of it? Was he saying weird things?
He always says weird things. He wouldn't say weird things. Lately, he was just really good. He was just really.
When he got up at 2:30 in the afternoon, you could tell he had been sleeping very hard because, his eyes were swollen and he was kind of disoriented at first. And I said, what are you doing in bed? Why aren't you in class? And he said, I was just really tired. And I said, why are you so tired? I can't remember what he said. But I probably said, Daddy said you were coming home. I said, well, you weren't at home. I said, what is going on? And at first he told me that he came in the house. And I said, there's no way he came in the house because the dogs would bark and flip out. I said, there's no way you were inside our house. And I said, and we have a thing that we latch and lock it. And I said, yeah. I said, how would you have gotten in? And then later he said, no, I didn't. And so I didn't really believe that he actually was anywhere in the vicinity. And that's when I said, of course, I saw the gun and we had that conversation. And I said, did you have anything to do with what happened to the neighbors? And that's when I told him, what happened to the neighbors. He didn't respond immediately. Like, oh my God, are you kidding? And I think he was just still not alert. I mean, you could tell.
Was it, he wasn't alert because he was still trying to wake up, or was he just, he was all kind of out of the offering, kind of?
I don't know. I mean, I honestly can't answer that. I don't know if it was that, he was just not quite. It was later on, after I'd been there for quite a while before Scott came, he was more alert and talking, more clearly.
Did he ever give you actual yes or no response about the gas and that?
He said, I did not murder anybody.
So other than him kind of sleeping, is that unusual from the sleep till 30
We don't know. We should watch him on the weekend.
We don't know.
Your classes going.
How do I say figure out some weekends? You sleep until 2:30?
Yeah, not that late, no.
So, it's a little unusual for him to sleep that late. He looked tired, he woke up, everything in the apartment seemed normal. Who actually physically took me?
You wouldn't get to her, that's why Teresa had called me and said, God, you need to come. I said, get out of the car, bring him to our house. And he refused to go home. That's when she called me and said, I'm here, blah, 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 blah. He's off his rocker. I'm going to have everybody pick him from the airport to you go. So I went and felt the same thing and talked about it and asked point blank, were you involved? And it was not a yes or no. It was all answers that really made no sense. And if you talk to them long enough, somebody has, they may get a sense that he's heroin. So we said, let's go. You're going. Mom's going. With Aunt Ryan, because she picked me up, and I'll drive you and I. He said, Dad, I want to stay here. I said, why? Why would you want to come home? You were going to come home last night. You did. He said, I just want to stay. I got classes, blah, blah, blah. So I said, okay. But I'm taking it up. And he went and got it. And said, Dad, possession is possession. I'm the owner. You can't do this to me. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to give her a flip. And I'm taking the gun. You can have bullets, but I'm taking the freaking gun. And it bothered me.
Well, no, he said you should take the bullet too. He told you should take the bullet too.
I just wanted the gun. If I had to be his bullets, I can't use them. I'll take it. I'm not going to say what I thought was where he was going to shoot himself. Or somebody else. No, I know you're not. I don't know. That's terrible. I think it's terrible to say, but his mindset was completely.
But you would think it's his psychiatrist that he's been seeing every 2 weeks because we wanted him to continue to meet with him, because of what happened to Austin. Because he said, we asked him, would you like to continue to go? And he said, yeah, it would be good for me. Maybe because he's 22 years old that he can't tell us anything. I don't know.
I know you said you had a gun. Absolutely. Do you have any idea what kind of gun
I have no idea.
but do you know what color it was?
Black.
Did it look like kind of like
Where he said Glock, this is, yes, no, not a Glock, because the other two guys who have Glocks. This one was, looked at it.
It was shaped like this. It was shaped like that same size.
But the holster's not that big. It's just about that wide.
It's okay. I understand that.
88, 99, caliber.
I was just curious. So, he had the bullets at his house?
Yes.
Did you ever see the bullets? Yes. Okay. Can you describe those to me?
They were about 8.
Do you, if I use the word casing, any kind of showcase? What color was the showcase?
Gold.
The showcase was gold. She didn't have any other camera with us, anything like that.
Not that, because the gun and the ammo was in his drawer. It was on the floor next to his bed. It was after 3 hours, he put it in his little drawer box.
Do you have any other magazines there?
He had 2. One to the side and one in it. Well, it was not in it, it was just kind of hanging out.
Did it have the same ammo in it?
That's about, yeah, I think it was the same. But I said, well, how many are in these? And he said, 8, maybe.
I don't know.
I said, how many are missing? Oh,
He
yeah.
said he shot 5 or 6 rounds at his gun range.
Did you fire oxygen stuff? Okay. If I show you a bullet, would you be able to recognize it? I know so. Did you ever see anything that was kind of like this?
The bullets aren't that big.
Nothing.
Not that big.
And is that just so wrong like that?
I don't think it was so much.
Okay, so, all right.
No, little.
Now, I know you said you've seen a psychiatrist. Did he actually think diagnosed?
I mean, I told the psychiatrist that, you know, I thought that he was either bipolar or schizophrenic, you know, of the episodes that we've seen over the last few years.
So it's been 50 years now.
About two and a half.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to think. No, I know maybe it's not there yet.
Yeah.
You don't have the right words on the town. So a couple years.
Yeah.
So like high school years?
No, he was always an excellent straight A student, went to magnet school at Kennesaw Mountain, athlete, played lacrosse, never got in trouble, never drank, never was, you know, it was the good crowd kids. When he went to Georgia, I wanted him to get a fraternity to help him because he was kind of a geek, you know, he was in computer lab at school, and I just thought it would help him socially at Georgia. And you know, I was sitting in his dorm or apartment all day on the computer. So I said, I think it will help you socially, you'll really enjoy it. But I was in with the store and loved it. And so I think that was the beginning of the end. Of course, he got in there and started drinking and smoking, and Lord only knows what else those guys do. And, you know, I think he started smoking pot. He didn't ever smoke pot before. And the kind of crap that those kids get now, I don't know what's in it, but it's not the kind of pot from way I went. And so we started seeing, you know, his grades started climbing after the first semester, and behavior, yes.
Was he struggling at school this time? Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, he's been struggling ever since.
Yeah, they were doing something at some sort, you know, probably done this at the fraternity house, and it got him way off track. I think it even happened again. You know, has something every night.
Yes, it has not been on him a hug now.
And to the counselor, when he got around, people freaked out.
He's paranoid.
He was.
So,
Yeah. He got arrested.
He got arrested.
He got probation. And he had 2 more months.
well, he got, had to go through the code of conduct through school, because it was on, their fraternity house was on school campus, not off campus. So when they contacted the fraternity council to tell them what had happened, they in turn contacted the school. So then the school board called me and said, you know, I'm calling to let you know there was an incident at his fraternity house. He is on his way home, and so we got an attorney to get him back in school because they wanted to keep him out like 2 semesters, like a whole year. And we just felt like, you know, the kid's never been in trouble. He got so high, he didn't know what he was doing. He needs a second chance because he's just a great student, great kid.
But it was hard. It was Clark County Police.
Yeah, so I drove him to the police station and turned himself in. Because of the attorney record.
Now, do you think that incident was because he got too high or
Yeah.
drunk stuff, or do you think that was the beginning of maybe?
I think he was smoking a tremendous amount of pot at that time. And I think that was the beginning of all these episodes. And we didn't know this, but another episode occurred before that when he was living in a dorm. They said he was running through the dorm and banged his head against the wall when he was real high one time. And the people that come to Yeah, but they didn't ever notify us because they didn't seem to think.
Never got there.
He-
I didn't say the same. But he quit smoking because he was on, did the weekly work every Sunday went to the police station. So I think he was straight for a period of time. And then once he completed that, kind of slid back to the old days.
Was he ever on like academic probation for this stuff? No. So, struggling in school, but still maintaining grades.
He wouldn't tell us.
Well,
He's become really defiant, right, really. I think he'll, go ahead.
he came home, when that happened in the fall of his sophomore year. That's when that happened, like in October at the fraternity. And so he stayed home through, did he start back the spring?
Yeah, for COVID.
Oh, yeah, that's when COVID hit, so he had to stay home. He was allowed to go back to school and take classes, but he had to do it online because when COVID hit. So he was home that whole year, and then that summer, and then this is his junior year, and so he went back. Well, we got an apartment in April because he couldn't find any community service in Cobb County for his program. Yeah.
So he was full of scholarship for 2 quarters. Came out of Kennesaw High School with a 4 point something. And went to Georgia and had a 3.6 and a 3.5 and joined the fraternity all down. And my guess is today, he had one good quarter. Because we said you got to straighten up. We're paying a lot of money. And I think this quarter is what we get worse to the major.
It was engineering and he switched it to cognitive science.
Which again is, science.
It's a new major, I think, at Georgia, but
If all matches, we stop it.
I'll be honest with you, we will be testing it. We will be testing it. I don't have the results of that right this second, but I realize we'll be having institutions.
do you know how many times the people have? Both of them each multiple.
Do you guys know where in the house bodies were?
I talked to the grandparents down the street briefly, and they told me that the authorities told them they were sitting on the sofa. They were found sitting on the sofa.
You know what room they were in?
I'm assuming that must be their den.
Yeah, war,
You ever tell them what room they were?
all out and was he involved, yes.
And I know they've been doing strange things, seeing strange things. There's something specific that's kind of like a repetitive behavior with him, whether it be your presence or does he paranoid about a specific thing? Is there something specific they take on?
It takes on having to have a weapon to protect himself, especially since what happened to Austin.
Is this like a everyday thing, or is it kind of comes and goes, or he has good weeks and bad weeks, or as far as whatever's going on with him?
Well, when he came home and he asked to see where the guns were, I was the only one who knew where the key was. And so Daddy, Scott said, I don't know where the key is, Matthew, but I will get Mom to go get it, and I will show you where the guns are, that they're safe, and they're put away, and they'll be here for whenever. And so I always got the key, and, unlocked it. He came in, and he and Scott sat there, and he showed him, everything was in the safe, and
No, you can't take it. It's locked back up, and I'll be here when we think it's time to do something else.
So he's pretty big on protecting himself. Did he ever express anything of why he needed protection? Maybe he didn't express that he thought was.
I think thinking about it, there were folks out to get him. And I think it was on the devilish, demonic side of his mind that he was hearing things, seeing things, believing things that weren't true, that led him to believe, somebody's going to have you. I don't know.
yes, one day when I was in Athens, he drove me past this temple that he said were devil worshippers. Because he was sitting outside one night, and he heard a woman or somebody scream to the top of their lungs. And we said, where do you think that was coming from? He said, I think it was coming from the demonic temple.
It was amazing. He might have run on the sidewalks. That's what it was. He drove me to it. I said, are you kidding me? He told me that on the phone when I was in D.C. And the next time I saw him, he said, tell me where all this happened. And it was 3/8 of a mile from his house. And I said, something doesn't make sense. If you scream as loud as you can at that place, there's no way you're back to your place. So I was that in his mind? He believes things that I don't think would ever have occurred. I don't know that. For me, three months ago, yeah.
Did he ever say anything about that house that happened, even before the house that happened? Was he ever fixated on your house or talking about the previous people who lived there?
No, when that was all going on with Austin, I would ask him, I would say, do you see any of this that Austin thinks he sees and that's going on? Have you ever seen a flashing lights at Austin? He said, I've seen the light. And he said, I think that one or both of them are messing with Austin. He said, I've never seen them in person. He said, but, I think that they are messing with Austin.
So, did Austin have a fixation on that house?
Well, that is,
He was putting things in the mailboxes. He believed that they were going in the bathroom and posing for him and turning the lights on and off and turning the lights around our house and just things that aren't normal, right? And God forbid we did everything was good for Austin, and he had similar issues with the dark side. It's all I can say. But they don't live in the real world.
Now, I know you said Matthew said, yes, I saw them and those lights over there, and they were messing with Austin and stuff. Did he say anything about that house recently?
no, haven't mentioned the house. Not at all.
Because I purposely, a few months, they sold their house a month after
They sold the house.
lockdown.
Yeah. And the people that moved in,
September.
maybe somewhere around that.
So I made a point to tell him that those people, the old people are gone, and new people have moved in that house.
Because Matt handles the light
He did?
about the previous owners messing with Austin. Because, like I said, I was very familiar with what happened with Austin and that house prior to that. This was new to me until today. And I can tell Matthew was very, we asked him, hey, what happened to told he's out of the backyard, and I told he's out of the backyard. He said, "That's even like, more sounded from the neighbors."
So he told y'all he was there.
He told us he came to your house. I said, sat in the car for like 15 minutes. Took like an hour and a half, essentially. Walked around the backyard, smoked a cigarette, kind of hanging out there for a little bit. And they said,
And did he say he came in the house?
he said he never went here.
Why did he tell us that he came in our house?
He said he didn't go. He said he got a bad feeling. There was a bad feeling in the air. And then that's suicidal. But the fixation of the lights is what we were trying to kind of understand what he meant by that.
He was saying that he saw flashing lights in the backyard.
He said he saw light flickering up his burger.
Well, I was trying to figure out if he was really there, because I said, were there any lights on in the house behind us if you were here? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, were they on upstairs or downstairs? Because they left, I think, the lights on. It wasn't everything exactly like we found it. And from what I've seen, it's the downstairs lights that are on, not the upstairs. And he said, he used that term, those demonic lights were on. And I said, what? And he said, those demonic lights.
So he said that happened, or
Yeah.
after this happened?
Yes,
So he told you they were going to run this demonic.
yes. And I said,
Why would he, what's the point in telling you about the Christmas lights?
No, he didn't tell us about the Christmas lights. I'm telling you that when we're talking about flashing lights and stuff, the house just happened to have a flashing light. So that was something we were thinking like,
Even just flashing lights.
we were trying to think
Out of
about
the house and the flashing Christmas tree, you know,
yeah. And he called it demonic lights to me. And that's why I didn't believe he was really there. Honest to God, I just believe he was just not coherent. I said, after you came home and you said you came in the house, the dogs were heard you, the dogs were barked, the light you have on the light that automatically comes on when you walk in.
Right.
So I was a very light sleeper. I said, there's no way you were inside our house. And he said, yeah, you're right. I didn't come in the house.
Yeah, I believe him. I believe he did.
So, one minute he told me one thing and the next thing he told me another. So I just didn't know what to believe. And that's when I probably said, did you have anything to do with those people?
Did you know he was up in Metro Atlanta?
Oh, I have no idea.
Did you know he was up in Metro Atlanta today?
No.
Did you think he was still in Athens? I didn't know he could have come back. Or just, yeah, did you think he was still in Athens?
Yes, because we said when we left, buddy, if you stay here, you got to go to class. Don't feel relying, go in person. And he said, I am. So I texted him this morning because I thought his classes were 11 and said, you up? And he didn't respond. And then I tried calling him. And he just went straight to voicemail. And I thought, oh gosh, he's still asleep. He did not get up. And so I called again at some point, and it went straight to voicemail again. And so I told Scott, I said, I guess we need to go back tomorrow and see what the world's going on.
I just wasn't sure if he called you today.
No. We told him that if he didn't come home with us last night, just to stay and come home Tuesday when classes were over. But I never said any other negative things about that house. You know, once that was all over and done, and he said something to me. I can't remember exactly what we're talking about, but he said, no, I don't hold a grudge. Austin didn't hold a grudge, and I don't hold a grudge. When I said, do you have anything to do with us people? And he said something like, no, I don't hold a grudge.
And when you explain to them, that the previous residents don't live here anymore, new family that seemed like he understood that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That wasn't just a point in time conversation. It was a conversation about a lot of things. We were, I don't remember when or where. And, you know, he was always needed that. I need to know everything you do. I need to know everything. Right? Matthew was always one that needed. So he knew what we were doing. He knew if we were going on vacation, if we were going to do this and that.
But it was in the newspaper, and he knew all the newspaper articles that the guy had moved out the week before Austin broke in there. So he knew that no one was living there. And then the guy put in the media that the girl had moved out way back in October. And we didn't know that. We thought they were both there that whole time.
So it never seemed like he forgot that you had that conversation and forgot that they.
No.
There was never been a reason to have another conversation.
I mean, there was a for sale sign in the yard, you know. He knew that, you know, it was for sale. And he knew that the guy had lived out.
He doesn't have a birthday, does he?
No.
That house in the apartment.
No more.
Is it all campus?
All campers.
So I'm on a little old apartment that was pretty nice.
Did Frank live there? So Suicidal was a return kid or something?
No.
His freshman friend, it was a great kid. Korean guy that went to Kennesaw Mountain, right?
Now,
And as a freshman, they roomed together. Great kid. He still keeps in touch with him. He had a fraternity in sentence, and he got decommissioned or de-pledged. So I don't think he has much conversation with him. I don't think he has a lot of friends.
I asked him last night.
Quiet guy, he's a loner. He's just not very social.
But he was
Now, I think as far as, you know, as an adult, he understands a lot more.
But he never, I don't think he ever got past the fraternity incident. You know, socially, I think that, you know, the fraternity told all the fraternity brothers not having to do with him. And I think, you know, that was a huge
435 North Church Street. Apartment 4. Apartment 4. And
What about church?
Athens. Yeah, it's Athens, 435 North Church Street. Apartment 4. Yeah, he is very orderly. He does his laundry regularly. It's clean. There's not trash everywhere. He used to cook himself some food. He's now gone off on a little different tangent. Doesn't feel like he's eating.
Him and Austin for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you know, they were home together for almost 2 years, you know, one night he had to come home his sophomore year. And, you know, Austin was there all that time. And then Matthew was home until about April.
Did he take it pretty hard afterwards?
We all did.
And I understand you said, and I would be good to sympathize with you. We were trying to understand what Matt's mindset was after that.
Yeah.
He did not. He was hard on it for a few weeks or a month. That's why every one
got to be worse with maybe delusions or anxiety after.
I mean, like, he had a physical, like, crying breakdown in the car, driving home for 10 hours. Like, that's the first time he had just let it all out, and he was just screaming and mad as hell and crying and just talking crazy. And we just were like, oh my God. And that's when we, called psychiatrists and said, can we come in and all meet and talk?
Other than what happened today, and wanted to protect himself, which is understandable. Why do people want to protect? You ever had violent outbursts? Anybody?
No.
I know we have knife around it. He never assaulted anybody.
Not that we are. Never, never.
I think it's been just in the last 6 to 8 weeks that he's tilted. He tilted. Nothing.
I think he knows that he's failing and that he is eating away at the pressure. And he told me last night that he had dropped Spanish. And I said, "Does that make eating away at you that you haven't told me and just now telling me?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Are you going to your other classes?" Because we weren't convinced that he's going to his classes. And he says, "Yes, I have." And he says, "I'm still over, I'm taking full course, even having dropped."
Today, he goes to 10-1 class. And I had to do a 1-1 class. He went to Sandy Springs.
That's insane to me.
We hugged him last night, right?
Yes.
And said, "We love you. Get your butt up, go to class, and we'll see you on Friday," because he had class to.
Tuesday, we told him to go.
I'm sorry, Tuesday.
Right. You guys pretty much not the whole day now.
I was there from 2:30 until, we'll start, we didn't fly in until 6:15, and then I had to drive there.
I didn't get there until 9, but we left.
9:30, 10. Is that right? Yeah, we went home by 11:30.
Yeah.
Yes. That was us. Yeah.
Today, for some reason, he drove up in his car, left it abandoned on the side of the road.
On the highway?
Well, he was off.
He was off.
Yeah, north side. Left his car in the middle of the road.
In the middle of
In a lane, and a hero truck out there in the abandoned, so they just kind of push it over to the side because it's just in the middle of the road. No, it was right on that Cobb County line. Yeah, there was a camera, there's some traffic cameras up there. I seen him get out, he's kind of pacing around, and just walk away. And then next thing I find out, I don't remember how far away. Down the road, goes into one house, walks out, and goes into another house, which there were people home at the time. They told him, "Hey, we couldn't get out of our house." Started saying some things that they thought were unusual. He wouldn't leave, walked up the stairs, walked upstairs to their house. They called the police, and that's when that whole incident was finished.
Yeah, he lost his mind.
And I don't want to know every specific detail. That's kind of what they
Just stop your car in the middle of the road.
We don't know the guy or.
Yeah, we don't know if it's a scam, wrong, or man, we didn't know this, we had this, they had this in Virginia, now the hero truck thing just kind of dragged it out way, but, Sandy Springs obviously did a search warrant on the black Lexus that they had. And when I saw it, they had the Jimmy, this little
left in the middle of the road blocked.
Yeah, I don't know where to keep that. I don't know.
An officer, in the car, lost the car, and either in Athens somewhere else, either in Cobb.
We don't know, yeah, we don't know if there's a mechanical problem or a gas, and whatever I can say is that they found it kind of just.
In the first house, did he just walk in?
I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not doing that investigation. When I was told there were 2 houses he went into. One of them, at least one of them was occupied. And the second one, he was walking up the stairs, walking around. They were like, "What are you doing? I have to get out of here." He starts to pick the cover. They can all take springs, their officers show up. He comes down the stairs. His first, he's very kind of cordial and not doing anything unusual. And then they pull it out. Stab the officer. And then they had one of the other officers over there pull the firearm. And then he shot twice.
Where was he shot?
Took one in the neck, rolled those back, but he didn't want to have one in the neck, shoulder, chest here, neck transport to the hospital. But he did receive medical care, and that's the end. That's where he's been there. They're cleared up to be released.
You're all custody.
He's in his range. They charged him, several criminal suspects. They charged him several. Yeah, I mean, he's got nothing to do.
So what has he said about the RNA slave?
So he told us about the issue with Austin and the whole thing about the lights. We heard about the lights. He admitted to being there that night. And as far as your property in the backyard.
No, you don't remember mentioning anything about the living room, the body work.
I don't recall mentioning that to him.
He said that to us. We thought that was unusual. Because he never released that. We never released it to the media. As far as the police department. And I don't know if people may have heard or figure out here, but he made a comment that, yeah, we're getting killed in the living room. Kind of picture we can totally into that.
I'm pretty sure I told him that someone broke in the window and that they did tell him that they thought that someone broke in while people were gone. Because that's what the grandparent told the grandfather, that the authorities told them that they think somebody broke in while they were gone and were in there and surprised him because he said they were just sitting on the sofa. So I might have told him that. Yeah, I do remember telling him the window was broken in and the grandfather thought someone was in there waiting.
And he said, "Don't touch lights." And that would do that picture like a cigarette. You could see the lights. You could see the light out of the corner of his eye. Which obviously were fixation about the lights. We asked some questions there like, "Hey, when you get your gun with the shell casing, the match zero shell casings in the house," he was probably not. Probably not.
It's probably
Then
not.
probably, I was like, "Man, you don't seem very confident in that answer." We said something about, like, why do you think this would happen to some of these people? I made a comment, like, they might have been demonic. They could have been demonic. So it seemed like he was there enough to not go into specific details, but there's also some things that were very concerning to us, obviously. There were some camera footage of someone looking around in their backyard. Some clothing that was similar to what he was wearing today. We asked him about a specific thing that I was wearing. I think he was wearing another thing. And we were like,
So he wasn't wearing the same clothes.
well, he was wearing that thing. We go, which way was it? It was the North Face City Corner. And that's what he was wearing today. So he kind of said, and then when we came a little upset because it was a kid's house.
remembers him when I told him that they had a child, and he said, "Were they okay?" And I said, "Yes, they were okay." I said, "But, you know, they found him hiding. He was clearly, you know, upset." Because I heard him saying he's okay.
Larry, yes, the house.
Oh, dear God. He's just, it's for him, he lost his mind. He lost his mind to go into someone's house in Sandy Springs. You know that for sure.
That's for sure.
Yes.
He said, officer,
He's crazy.
We have a church, and we it's very serious. Okay. But we'll prepare you that it is possible. Keep somebody going. He may possibly go charge of 2 counts of homicide and several other charges. Okay. Like I said, we're still investigating this thing. I just want to prepare you that it is a possibility from what we've gathered so far. Okay.
He'll never come out. Yeah, we'll put him in jail and he's never coming back.
He's crazy, God.
I know he is. Let him go.
He needs to help.
You don't come out. We don't come out.
We haven't started with anything this month. Okay. I just want to prepare you that with what we've done so far, and it's
Well, what's the process to continue? With Charles' process?
You call Mr. Mary. You call an attorney.
that's I mean,
Well,
you have this, it's up to you. He's already had criminal charges and these things.
right.
Yeah. Sure.
Your final page, your final.
My number is 404. 702.
But,
That's our number. 404 787. Yeah. 667.
And Teresa's is 404.
402. 409. What's your number? 0952. Teresa.
you want to get in and set up, get some water, you guys have some time together.
I'm busy.
For the record, I'm stopping this video at 10:18:20. Detective, you see that both yourself and Detective Stannard exit the interview room. Is that the completion of the interview?
Yes, sir. I think we went back in one more time just to check on it.
But nothing of conversation as to this case, really?
Correct.
So I want to ask you some questions about some of your tape.
Before you go into that, why don't we take a quick break? It's been about an hour and about 15 minutes. Give everyone an opportunity to stretch and get some water, and we'll come back at 2:50, about 10 minutes.
Thank you, George.
Right, we are back on the record for the state of Georgia versus Matthew Scott Lanz, 22-00922. All parties are present. You may proceed, ADA Horvath.
Detective, so after watching that video, I want to kind of understand kind of the procedural of events. So, on what day was the murder?
The bodies were found on the 18th, but the murder likely occurred the 17th into the 18th.
Now, after speaking with Teresa and Scott, when did they go to Athens?
They went to Athens the 18th, the day that the bodies were found.
Now, during that interview, around what time did Teresa make it to Athens?
She said she left about noon and arrived in Athens around 2:30 in the afternoon.
Now, what about Scott?
I don't recall an exact time, but Teresa was already there, and she said she called him at the airport, had the daughter pick him up at the airport and come straight there.
Now, what were some of the big takeaways of the interview that you had with Teresa and Scott?
The first thing that struck me was the fact that Teresa did think to drive over 2 hours to Athens the same day, the 18th. And then the fact that she did ask her son if he'd had anything to do with the neighbors being murdered.
And was anything about the gun significant to you?
Yeah, first off, the fact that they decided they needed to take the gun from their son, as Mr. Scott said, he thought he might be suicidal or homicidal or hurt somebody else. And then Matthew told them that he fired 5 or 6 rounds at the range, which was consistent with the number of rounds from the homicide scene.
Now, who ultimately took the gun from the defendant?
Scott said that he took it because Matthew wouldn't give it to his mother, so he said he took the firearm and left the bullets there in the apartment.
And what did he do with the gun?
He took it and if I recall, he put it in his bedroom closet, which is when officers arrived at the house, he told them where to find it. They found the gun.
Now, I want to move on to some buccal swabs. At some point, did you obtain a search warrant for the defendant's DNA?
Yes, detectives did, and I obtained search warrants, Fulton County search warrants for the defendant's DNA because he was at the Fulton County Jail on Rice Street.
Why were you interested in obtaining that DNA?
To compare with DNA collected on the scene, we were having the ATF process the shell casings for DNA, and then also when we recovered the firearm to compare any DNA from the firearm.
Now, were you able to actually execute that search warrant?
We did. The search warrant was obtained November the 30th, and then we executed it December the 1st, I believe around 11:48 hours.
And where did you execute it?
At the Fulton County Jail on Rice Street.
Now, for the judge, how was that buccal swab examination conducted?
We use sterile cotton swabs, and we swab the insides of the cheeks. I usually use 2 swabs and swab the inside of the cheek to collect the DNA.
Now, I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibits 482 and 483. Do you recognize these exhibits?
Yes, they're the buccal swab kits from Matthew Scott Lanz.
And are these the physical swabs that you took from Matthew Scott Lanz at the jail that day?
Yes, they're sealed in the evidence package.
At this time, the state moves to enter what's marked as State's Exhibits 482 and 483 into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
States 482 and 483 are admitted.
Now, while conducting that buccal swab examination, did you also take a photograph of the defendant?
Yes, we took a photograph of the defendant to show who we were collecting the buccal swabs from, and we also audio recorded our interaction.
I'm now going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 659. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir, it's Matthew Lanz.
Is this the photograph you took during that buccal swab examination?
Yes, sir, it is.
At this time, the state moves to enter what's marked as State's Exhibit 659 into evidence.
Any objection?
Okay.
State 659 is admitted.
Now, you also mentioned an audio recording. Prior to your testimony, did you happen to listen to that audio recording prior to your testimony?
Yes, sir, I viewed it this morning.
And was that a copy of that interaction with Mr. Lanz at jail that day?
Yes, sir.
At this time, the state moves to enter what's marked as State's Exhibit 467 into evidence.
Any objection?
I had the opportunity during the break to listen to that, so we don't have any objections.
Thank you. States 467 is admitted.
You gonna publish it?
Yes.
And for the record, I am playing 467 starting at 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Yes, with the GBI. With Cobb. Yeah, kind of various. Okay, same thing. Do that again, and then we're done. And move out there. Okay. Go down 5 points. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your cooperation. You got the person to do that third one. Yes, right. Yeah, we're done. And I'll give you this copy and keep your own record. I'm sure I see notified. Yes, give them that copy and then we'll all have additional copies on it that you can get from Fort Fair Cobb, okay? That is what it should be. Yeah.
For the record, I'm stopping 467 at 6 minutes and 30 seconds. The remainder of that audio is just you leaving it. I'm stopping the video at 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Detective, the remainder of that video, is that just you leaving the jail?
Yes, sir. It's just us leaving.
Now, the swabs that were taken, that has been admitted into evidence, were those sent off for forensic testing?
Yes, sir. I believe 2 were sent to the GBI and 2 were sent to the ATF.
Now, I want to show you what's already been admitted, State Exhibit 659. Now, is this Matthew Lanz, who you performed that buccal swab on?
Yes, sir. And that's the picture I took.
Now, do you see Matthew Lanz in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
If you'll please point him out and describe an article of clothing.
He's sitting at the defendant's table in a green shirt.
Let the record reflect that the detective has identified the defendant.
The record will still reflect.
Now, were you also tasked with getting buccal swabs for Jacob Hicks?
Yes, sir.
How did you go about doing that?
We did that the same day. We went to their home and got consent from Jacob's grandfather, Timothy. And again, it's a swab of the inside of the cheek.
I'm now going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibits 657 and 658. Do you recognize them?
Yes, sir. It's the buccal swabs from Jacob Hicks.
This time the state moved to enter what's marked as State's Exhibits 657 and 658 into evidence.
Any objection? State 657 and 658 are admitted.
Now, with those swabs as well, were they also sent off for forensic testing?
Yes, sir.
Where?
Also 2 to the GBI and 2 to the ATF.
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Barry, you may proceed with your cross.
Thank you. Detective Jackson, were you involved in the search of the home or go to the home on the 18th?
On Defile?
I'm sorry.
On Defile or the one in Athens?
The next day, after the 18th.
The scene?
The scene?
Yes, sir. I was.
Okay, and what was your job at the scene?
I assisted with processing the scene.
I'm sorry.
I assisted with processing the scene.
Process. Okay, and what did you do to process?
Look for evidence, look for shell casings, search the upstairs bedroom. I remember when the Indian investigator got there, I assisted with moving Amber's body.
Did you find anything other than the shell casings? that were of interest?
I believe we found a piece of a projectile, if I recall.
Okay. Did you collect that or somebody?
I did not. The crime scene technician and the medical examiner's office collected those items.
You indicated that you had possession of a firearm at some point?
The firearm used in the crime?
Correct.
No, sir, not that I recall.
And you indicated that you got a Fulton County search warrant. Was that you or some other?
I was with Detective Standard, but Detective Standard was the affiant. And in relation to the firearm, I did find the magazines at the apartment in Athens.
Okay. So that was going to be my next question. Did you go to Athens to be involved in that search there?
Yes, sir.
And what did you find in that search at?
In the computer desk drawer, I found 2 loaded magazines.
Okay. 2 loaded magazines, and were those 9mm magazines?
Yes, sir.
Did you find any loose bullets?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Was there anything else that you found of significance there in the search in Athens?
No, sir, not that I recall.
And were the magazines that you collected, were they sent to the ATF or the crime lab, whoever was going to do the testing on that?
I believe Detective Standard sent them off, but I'm not sure. I do remember counting the rounds in them. One was fully loaded and one, I believe, had 12 rounds in it.
Okay. How many rounds does the clip normally hold?
17?
Okay. And did you do anything else in relation to this case other than what you testified to?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Is there any follow-up or redirect for Detective Jackson?
No, Judge.
May I be excused?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. Detective Jackson, excuse me. Thank you. State, call your next witness.
At this time, the state calls Todd Bill.